How's everyone doing? So Strength Chat episode 10, and today I have another guest, Chris Lowe.
Hi guys.
Can you just give a little bit of an introduction for yourself?
I can. So, like Steve said, my name's Chris. I got a nutrition consultancy. We work with athletes to provide them with nutrition support and coaching. So basically help them with their performance and body composition goals.
Nice. So today a couple of people have you asked about how much caffeine or coffee, have a sip of this, how much coffee you should be taking to help with performance. So I know from that point of view, when I've done nutrition at uni and that sort of stuff, caffeine has been shown to improve performance, but what are the actual pros and cons of using caffeine or having coffee?
Yeah, so for performance, it's very much like dose dependent. So if you obviously have zero caffeine, you don't have a ergogenic effect from it, but if you have a certain dose, then you get more response, and then it comes to a certain point where it just dips off right down the other side.
Okay.
So it can be beneficial and negative.
Okay.
So as soon as you've had too much, you get very nauseous, irritable, quite anxious as well. Your heart rate becomes very elevated.
Right.
So it's not a good place to be. And so in terms of like the active dose for performance, it's between, everything's relative to body weight. So it's between 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of your body weight.
Okay.
So easy maths, if you're 100 kilos, it's between 3 to 600 milligrams. This here has about 75 milligrams in.
Okay.
So say if you're 100 kilos, how much do you weigh?
107.
100. Well,
Bit heavier.
we're going
Yeah.
down. So that's best part of like 4 and bit coffees for you
Okay.
in one sort of sitting to have an effect.
Okay.
So as soon as you have coffee or any form of caffeine, it'll get absorbed in your gut and get sort of metabolized in the liver, and then it'll sort of increase levels in your blood between 15 and 45 minutes and peak about 60.
Okay.
That'll stay in the system for about 3 to 6 hours. So you get about 50-75% decline within the 3 to 6 hour period. So that's your half-life, and then you won't really have too much of an effect of it then.
Okay. So how long should you be taking it beforehand, before you start training?
Yeah, so that comes down to basically how you metabolize it basically.
Okay.
So within the liver, where you metabolize it, you got an enzyme, and some people have a lot of this enzyme, some people don't have much. So obviously people who love this enzyme can break down, metabolize it very quickly, and you get a much quicker response. So generally speaking, rule of thumb, 30 to 60 minutes before session.
Okay.
Not 5 minutes before, because most likely to have an effect after session when you're driving home. But if you take it 2 to 3 hours before, you're probably not going to have too much of an effect, because...
So it's not a case of one size fits all with caffeine, it's not a case of everyone can just have the same amount all the time?
Yeah, that's right. So like I said, the dose is between 3 to 6 milligrams per kilogram of your body weight, but some people are like very, very sensitive to it.
Yeah.
So they can have literally a coffee and then they can't sleep for the next 10 days kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very much a case of trial and error. So I always recommend starting with a smaller dose and then just build it up over time.
Okay.
So you wouldn't go straight to the higher dose and it blows your head off and you can't really do anything because you get very irritable, nauseous, that sort of stuff.
Would there be a case where some people don't actually need to take caffeine? Is there a point where does everyone have to take some form of caffeine to help with performance, or would you say that some people can actually perform really well without actually taking any caffeine?
Yeah, good question. It's very much, I guess, personal preference. So I know some of the rugby players I work with, they don't like touching caffeine because it doesn't make them feel very good, even very small dosages, whereas some people become over-reliant on it.
Yeah.
Even if it doesn't have a physiological effect, it'll have like a placebo effect. So, it's very much personal preference.
Okay.
I basically say, this is what the research says, this is the dose, we'll try it out, does it make your performance better or worse, and then we go from there.
Okay.
And then just like tweak it as we go forward then.
Okay. So a couple of the powerlifters, a couple of people that train in the gym, for me personally, I have a cup of coffee, like you were saying. Usually, I didn't realise that it was anything backed by science. I usually have a coffee an hour beforehand because I feel it kicks in a little bit when I'm training. A lot of people take sort of pre-workout, and when you look at the caffeine in there, it's low. It's crazy high, and the colour of some of the pre-workout it can't be natural. What sources of caffeine would you recommend? Would it be simply just have a cup of coffee? That's what I recommend. Or is there, because I always think the amount of chemicals that are in pre-workout aren't very good. It can't be good to put in your body. Or is it actually beneficial?
So in terms of caffeine sources, obviously you got your coffee.
Yeah.
You got caffeine tablets, so like your Pro Plus, things like that. You got your energy drinks. You got your caffeine gums, which is a new thing, and then caffeine gels. So it's very much personal preference. I personally like coffee just because I know when I have coffee, it's more of a psychological thing. But I probably won't actually have the active dose in it because you have to have equivalents of like say 5-6 coffees, which is quite a lot of a dose really.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's very much personal preference. Again, how it sort of makes you feel, how it sits with you as well. In terms of like coffee, it's quite inconsistent dose. So say, for example, that's roughly 75 milligrams of caffeine, but it depends on where it's sort of sourced and roasting technique, like the bean and stuff as well. It can vary quite a lot. So it could be 40, it could be 110.
Yeah.
So you don't know. So that could be too much for me or too little. Where say tablets, if you're getting 50 milligram Pro Plus, that's still 50 milligrams. So it's going to be very consistent.
So I suppose it's a little bit like the protein supplements that you can get. If you've got a bag of protein, that can vary each time. So it's supposed to be the same for caffeine.
So I just like the consistency of saying, right, take X amount of caffeine via, a supplement or something like that.
Yeah.
Likewise with an energy drink, if you get a sugar-free energy drink, 200 milligrams in that perhaps, that should be not just shy of the effective dose.
Yeah. So as well with that, like you just mentioned before about when you have a cup of coffee and it means, right, I'm ready to train, gonna go smash some PBs. Is it a case of can people become dependent on it, and when they're going to strength training or whatever performance they're going on, they think that they can lift heavier, but actually it's got nothing to do with the caffeine? Or does it actually have that effect physiologically on performance?
Yes, it's quite a mix of research on this one. You mean like the tolerability to it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's long-lasting thought that more caffeine you have, you get very tolerable to it, and you need more all the time to have that same effective dose. But it isn't necessarily the case. New studies come out last year, looking at basically they pulled caffeine out of their diet for 28 days, gave them all the same amount of caffeine again before they trained, and they basically, the ones who removed caffeine had a better response.
Okay.
So they got that sensitivity back to it essentially. It's again, it's personal preference. It's very much how you responds to it.
Okay. So could you go through a phase of having by taking coffee, taking it away? Because I know for me, I've had recently, when you're doing early mornings and that sort of stuff, I sort of need more cups of coffee before I train. But then on days, or if I have a week off from work, if I know if I'm not working a weekend and I'll come in, I probably only have one beforehand. So is it would you recommend doing peaks and troughs of caffeine, or would you just recommend maintaining a constant level of one cup of coffee before training?
So you almost find that if you think of total daily caffeine intake, most people may have 5 milligrams per kilogram of body weight of caffeine a day, so going to 4 coffees.
Yeah.
But if they perhaps dose that a little bit better towards pre-training, not only do they have the effective dose, but they kind of get that same amount of caffeine in. So they won't have their standard 4 cups plus a huge dose on top.
Yeah.
So you can be wiser how you manage your daily caffeine intake.
Yeah.
Or if you know that sometimes you get over dependence on it, you can pull it back a little bit to have a little bit of sensitivity perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Again, that's very much up in the air whether that's actually true, but it's more case than not it will work.
Okay.
If not, it'll work in there anyway.
Yeah.
No.
Okay.
So a lot of people have coffees all day, then have a huge pre-workout, maybe 400 milligrams of caffeine in, and then when they get home, they get a massive crash and they coffee again to pick them back up.
Yeah.
And that's a bit too much over-reliance on it then.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I probably wouldn't recommend that at all.
So if you're not drinking coffee throughout the day, but you take pre-workout, that's sort of a better way of managing it a little bit.
It'd be more consistent way of doing it.
Yeah. So obviously we've spoken about caffeine before a workout. When you have caffeine after a workout, there's a little bit of confusion that I've found that what I've looked into. Does having caffeine affect your recovery after a workout? So obviously you can be more alert, concentrate a little bit more when you take caffeine beforehand. What's the effects of it taking it after a workout? So I know that, I might be in the gym, or when people have been training, they might have an early start and they might be going on to a night shift or whatever.
Yeah.
They have another cup of coffee after their training. How will that affect their recovery, if at all?
The only thing it'll affect is the rate of glycogen replenishment, so your carbohydrate stores. So having like caffeine with carbohydrates post exercise can increase carbohydrate storage.
Okay.
So that's quite cool. But that's only really relevant in endurance athletes.
Okay.
They'll have like another exercise bar competition that's quite depleting, maybe 24 hours after.
Yeah.
So say you're doing like full body on like a Monday and again on like a Wednesday, Thursday, something like that. You don't really have to worry about carb typing all too much. So using caffeine push training for that role is kind of pointless.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the only thing. There's nothing I've read in terms of blunt inner training and adaptation. There's more case of just as glycogen replenishment, and in terms of hydration status as well, up to 4 cups a day. So your body weight times 0.5 milligrams. That's absolutely fine with hydration status as well.
Yeah.
And electrolyte balance.
Okay.
So in terms of recovery measures, no, it seems
not
fine.
very much.
Seems fine.
All right. I was thinking, we were spoken about this as trainers, and it was a little bit sort of because obviously I did a post a couple of weeks ago about obviously making sure that you're keeping hydrated, and having sort of the coffee and that sort of stuff can play a part on hydration levels.
Yeah.
But yeah, you've heard it here. No, it doesn't affect on recovery, so you can have a cup of coffee afterwards. So hopefully, all in all, it's based down to the person really on caffeine. Obviously, it can improve performance, but you can be a little bit dependent on it. So, would you recommend people sort of playing around with having more caffeine, lower caffeine?
Yeah.
Or would you say stick with what people are doing at the minute?
So I would try it because it has like an effective dose. So if you are competing, don't trial any new strategies like caffeine intake before that day.
Yeah.
Just in case things go really badly wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So try and match it in a training session and then start building up. So say for powerlifting, if you're working on maybe similar sort of intensity as competition, like RP 8, 9 or something like that, then try the caffeine dose, because you know that caffeine dose will affect you on that given sort of training session, and see how it works. Start low and then sort of build up. So just make subjective sort of measures. How does it make you feel? What's your energy like? You can even take like heart rate stuff as well if you want to, and then obviously how you feel and how your lifts go. What caffeine does quite nicely with weight training is more the reps of failure. So that's where the benefit is, not necessarily like the single stuff. So if you've got like a quite heavy sort of training block, where you're just doing like 8s, 9s, 10s, 12s, something like that, then it seems to work with repetitions to failure as opposed to just heavy singles. So because it increases like your pain tolerance, and like it decreases your perceived effort as well. So you can kind of push through more reps.
Is that linked with the endurance side of things? Because obviously a lot of research has been on it can improve endurance. Why is it, or how come there is limited research on, like you mentioned there about on heavy singles? How does it affect that? Is it just because it physiologically it doesn't work that way, or what?
Most likely physiologically, yeah. Like we know it does have a really good effect on the nervous system. It improves like alertness, vigor, concentration, stuff like that. But it may just be a case of you're just not doing enough work for it to actually have an effect. Maybe.
Well, you look at for one rep, you look when you record it back, it takes less than 10 seconds to do a massive rep. So that'd be quite interesting.
Like if you're sleep deprived, so if you go like night before a comp and you're really nervous and you don't sleep, then it could probably have a good effect then.
Interesting. Because I've always wondered why it wasn't all the research when I've looked and read some of the stuff that you've put out there. It is based all about endurance athletes, but I do find it interesting that the higher the reps, the more influence it has. So I found that quite interesting. It's probably changed my thought on caffeine a little bit more. For the people that are listening, if you can just give them where they can find you and what information they can get from your social media and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, cool. So first of all, I'd like to say thanks for tuning in. Really good to speak with you. So website is chrislowenutrition.com. Instagram is mostly where I do all my sort of social work. So that'd be Instagram /Chris Lowe Nutrition. Same with Facebook /Chris Lowe Nutrition as well. Yeah. And so quite active on it, post all the time, blog writing, and that's
Sweet.
about it really. Yeah.
I'll put the details down underneath. If you've got any questions about nutrition, whether it be caffeine or anything like that, this is probably the go-to man for that. I know a lot of people have asked me questions about nutrition and supplements. That's not my area, so I thought I'd get sort of an expert in that field to point in the right direction. So thanks for listening,
Awesome. Thank you,
and
guys.
see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers, guys. Thank you.